let die. Live and let die. Live and let die. Live and let die.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Drop Goal podcast. We're well into the 2022 year now, and we're really looking forward to bringing you today's episode. Today, this guest is a Warrington Wolves legend, a St Helens lad, and now he's the assistant coach at Wigan Warriors. He's a legend of our game and one of my idols growing up watching rugby league. It's the man himself, Lee Briers. Welcome to the podcast, mate. How are you?
Thanks. Yeah, great to be on, and thanks for inviting me. I'm really well, thank you.
Brilliant, mate. Good to hear you're all well. And I'm really looking forward to having you on the podcast today, like I mentioned earlier. So we'll jump straight into things. As everyone knows, you were at Warrington for 20 plus years, went on to assistant coach, and now you've moved over to Wigan Warriors as the assistant coach there. So I'd just like to get a grasp of things, how pre-season's going, how you've settled in the Wigan camp, and just an overall summary of how your move to Wigan has gone.
Yeah, it's like everything in pre-season. Every team will be saying, we're looking good, we're looking sharp, and
yeah,
we're working on things, and they seem to be coming off. So every team will be saying the same, and we're no different. We've changed quite a few things from years gone by. New coaching cell, new players into that. So we're trying to mold the team into what we want it to look like. So there's been a lot of work going on. We working a lot on our culture. Our head coach Matt Peach really strong on culture first. So we've really focused on that, and it seems to be coming along very nicely. We've had 2 warm-up games, 2 friendlies.
Yeah,
we've got really what we wanted out of them games as well, regarding performances, regarding stuff what we've been working on. So it's all going well at the moment, but as we well know, coming into the Super League season, things can change. But first impressions of the club is, nothing but, it's extremely successful.
Yeah.
Been extremely successful in the past. Can see why. It's a really strong club, both on and off the field, and it demands success. So I'm really enjoying the role. Really enjoying it. It suits me down to the ground in it. It's been a really good first 3 months. Really enjoyed it.
Brilliant, mate. It's good to hear that you've settled in well at Wigan, and of course, as a Warrington fan, although there is a rivalry there, I must respect Wigan as a team that's won it all. So it's good to see a Warrington legend move on and do brilliant things at other clubs. And obviously, pre-season is pretty much wrapped up for every team now. Super League's just a week away. The season's so close to getting back up again, and everyone's being able to watch that rugby that we all enjoy. But you were at Warrington for a number of years, but how did this move originally come about? Obviously, Darryl Powell came into Warrington, and you and Andrew Henderson had been the previous assistant coaches. But then when Powell came in, you and Hendo moved on to take up different roles. How did this move to Wigan and this exit from Warrington, how did it all stem?
Well, it's as simple as my contract was up at Warrington and it wasn't going to get renewed. Obviously, Darryl was coming in to and bring his own staff, which he had every right to, and that's fine. I've got no problem with that. And I suppose it's the role what I'm in. People change roles. People bring their own staff in, and that's fine. And unfortunately, I had to move on, which was hard, which was strange, but that's life. That's what happens in the game what I'm in. Probably didn't realise at the time how much it was going to benefit me. If I'm being honest, at the time I couldn't really get my head around that I wasn't going to be at Warrington. But with the move coming to Wigan, that eventuated, because I've been friends with Matty Pete for numerous years now, and we work together at England Academy. So Matt had a bit of an inkling that he was going to be head coach, and he wanted me to be with him. And
Right.
it was strange times because there was obviously there was a bit of interest from Wigan, but there was no concrete contract there until basically after the season had finished. But I was close to going to the NRL as well. There was a club in the NRL. What was close to going to, but that just didn't quite get over the line.
Right.
So it was really humbling, really, because I had two clubs, one in England, which is, it's one of, or if not the most successful club in England, and then probably the biggest one in Australia. So really humbling to have them clubs, showing interest. But it just felt right to be at Wigan, and it's a massive club, and I thank Matty and the chairman and Chris Fradlinskis for showing confidence and giving me an opportunity, and hopefully I can repay that. And so I find myself here now, 3 months later, and loving it.
Well, that's it, mate. As long as you're happy in the role you're doing, then that's all that matters, really, because a happy coach means happy players, and then a successful team. And there's no doubt, like you said, Wigan is one of the biggest clubs in England and as rugby league, in rugby league as a whole. So the fact that you've got those opportunities to continue your coaching career and develop is brilliant. So we'll flash back all the way to when you were a lad. I've read the majority of your autobiography, which is a brilliant read, and I'll leave the link in the description to anyone who's interested in buying it. You're a bit of a troublemaker growing up in the streets of St Helens, as all lads are most of the time. What's it like growing up around rugby league, going to that old Saints ground and really being involved in that league town? How did that make you as a kid, and then reflect onto you as a player?
Well, it's everything. It's in you. Rugby league at St Helens. If there's not much more you can do, really. I suppose back in the day it was either working at Pilks or playing rugby league, and it's just ingrained in you. And I think every kid on the street used to play rugby league.
Yeah.
Every kid used to have a ball in their hand, so we could go and play all around where we lived and play against different kids on any given night, because that's what it was about. And so it was always going to be, I suppose, working at Pilks or playing rugby league. And I was lucky enough to get signed for Saints back in the day. So it was just, it was amazing times. When you're a child growing up, especially back in when I was a child, 30 years ago. There was none of you could roam the streets and parents not be worried and whatnot. So it was great times growing up. There was probably a gang of probably about 30 of us, really. We were all probably the same age. So it was crazy times, really good times. We used to get into trouble a lot, but nothing serious. It's just kind of jokingly trouble, but that's what makes you as a person. So it was great times in St Helens. I lived probably 100 metres away from Nosey Road, so spent most of my time on the stadium, stadium, on the field, even when it wasn't open. So it was a great little back garden we had.
Yeah, definitely, mate. It's brilliant growing up in a rugby league area, because, of course, it's in your blood then. And like you said, you've then been lucky enough to go on down that rugby league road, and you did sign for Saints. Obviously, you made your debut in around 1997, at the age of 18, such a young age for your debut. You're filling in for injured Bobby Golden. Tell us about that experience. You're finally pulling on that red V and making your senior debut. All those dreams growing up as a young lad in the streets of Saints, they finally come to fruition, and now you're here playing for Saints, making your debut. What was that all like?
Yeah, surreal. Very, very surreal, because I never thought I was good enough to do that. I'd only just signed my first contract 2 years before it, probably nearly to the day. I signed when I was 16. I was still on amateur forms, and I was earning £1,000 a year every birthday. They used to give me £1,000 in cash
Right.
and £30 a week YTS. So to go on and play first team at that, on £1,000 a year, it's pretty mental, to be fair. But things spiraled really quickly. Obviously, Bobby Golding was was the first team halfback captain of the club, unbelievable player.
Yeah.
I was there when he got sent off. Ironically, it was against Wigan in the Challenge Cup, and I was in the stands when he did the high tackle and cheering and probably abusing the player, Neil Cowie, and he gets sent off, Bobby Golding, and I'm cheering and going mad, and I'm probably not realising that incident was going to change my life forever, because on the following Monday, that happened on the Saturday. On the following Monday, I got called into the office. John McRae's office coach, and said I was going to be the starting scrum half. So yeah, it was probably took me a week to get my head around that. But once I did, I was quite confident as a kid, cocky, and I took it all in my stride. And I went on and played in that team with the likes of Paul Newlove, Anthony Sullivan, Steve Prescott, Kyle Hammond, Kieran Cunningham, Chris Joynt, just to name a few. And if I couldn't play well in that team, well, I'd had no chance to play well in any other team. It was quite easy for me to go to get, kind of talk them around the field, kick and kick my goals when I had to. So it was quite an easy transition.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think that gave you a boost, when you're making your debut and you're being impressioned by the likes of Steve Prescott and all these top players in that sense? Do you think that kind of gave you a boost in your career compared to maybe other players making the debut, because you've got those top players helping you out on the pitch and telling you what to do? Do you think that kind of maybe gave you the edge on others?
Yeah, quite possibly. What it did give me, an hunger. Once I'd played them 7 games to want more. Yeah. To want more, and that's what I did. And I wanted more from that. I really didn't think and didn't realise you could be a full-time professional, because they'd only just turned professional in 1996. Yeah. Going into 97 full-time. So I didn't understand that we could make money from it. So yeah, it was eye-opening, and I wanted a piece of it. And then, the rest is history, I suppose. Yeah,
that's it, mate. It is history. And to make your debut, you were recalled from your loan spell. Hopefully I don't get this wrong. Ask Carcassonne to gain first-team experience alongside 3 other youngsters. Were you surprised that you'd been recalled from that loan, and then just a few days later, after watching that game in the stands, obviously it didn't click in your head that would be an opening for you? When that all came about, it must have been surreal, like being recalled from your loan and then making your debut for Saints. Was it all like so much for such a young lad?
Yeah, so that was before me. So I made my debut actually on Boxing Day against Wigan at Central Park. So I was playing for Carcassonne in France, and I was coming back for Christmas.
Oh right, yeah.
I was coming back for Christmas. I played over in Carcassonne and got back just thinking that I was going over for Christmas to see the family, and then going back to Carcassonne. But I think there was a couple of injuries in the first team, and I got the call up to play first team. Obviously, I've been playing quite a bit of first team over in France. Yeah, and I went over there for that experience to go and play, and then come back and play in the A team, as it was then, against men. But I was lucky enough then to get the call up and play in the Norway Challenge on Boxing Day at Central Park, which was unbelievable. Saints Wigan derbies, they are the best, and to make my debut, and that was just sensational.
Oh, unbelievable, mate! What a game to make your debut. So that season, you made about 6 or 7 appearances, and you played a key role in helping Saints get to the cup final. Although when reaching the final, you'd been told that you'd been dropped from the squad, and obviously Bobby Golding would come back in and fulfill his position. And you got told that you might not even be included in the matchday squad at all. At this point, surely there was some, in my opinion, there might have been some slight bitterness towards the club. You've grown up loving them, and you've helped them reach a cup final, and now you've been dropped from that squad in one of the biggest days of your life, which would have been all of that. It must have been heartbreaking. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, obviously, I knew that Bobby Golden was going to come back into the team. That was fine. He was the best. He was the best player in the club, probably, if not the league at the time. That was fine. I had no issue with Bobby Golden coming into the team. He was a great mentor to me, and you know, he's a great person, great bloke. And but you know what happened was it transpired that on a Wembley weekend, it takes some organising. So a month before before we was due to go, we had a meeting with all the club and the directors and whatnot.
Right.
All the squad goes down to Wembley on the Thursday, so whatever that squad may be, 25, 26.
Yeah.
And I knew as an 18-year-old kid that the likelihood of me playing at Wembley was probably 1%. So somebody had to get banned or get injured for me to play. So I knew that I wasn't going to play, and I had no issue with that. I was more than happy with what I'd done leading up to it. I'd had a little taste of it. I was going to go back into the A team and work hard and hopefully be ready if needed again. I was fine. That's all good. But it transpired in the meeting that I wasn't going to be part of this travelling squad to go down to Wembley, nice hotel suit, and the sunglasses if you're lucky, and the walk around Wembley and take that feeling in, you know, the Wembley. And that upset me. It did upset me, to be fair, and because it probably would have cost them nothing really to get me there. Yeah, and it would have been quite a bit of reward for what I'd gone and done previous up to that. So I was gutted about that, and you know, I walked out with that meeting, and I was disappointed, disillusioned, really, and upset, and then thought nothing of it. You know what? It wasn't going to happen. So fair enough. Move on. Work hard. Make sure that you work hard enough that they can't do it to you again.
Right.
And then we'll crack on. Never thought once about leaving. Didn't even enter my mind that I'd ever leave, ever. And then a day later, I got a phone call from an agent, Tommy Cunningham, who was Kieran Cunningham's brother. And he said, "Listen, Lee, I want to be your agent. Can we meet up?" And I didn't even know what agents was.
Right.
I didn't know. And so he explained what it was, and he said, "Oh, by the way, Warrington have been on. Would you like to meet them to see if you'd like to play over at Warrington?" So, you know, that happened within a day or two. So I was still upset. So I said, yeah, I'd love to meet you, and I'd also like to meet Warrington. Yeah. And Warrington come and they sold the dream. Of being the number 7 for Warrington, being first team and playing in Super League and being full time. And at that time, my girlfriend was pregnant as well, so we were going to be due our first child in September. Yeah. So there was big decisions. So I decided, I like the thought of being a Super League player. I'd had a taste of it. Yeah. So I like the thought of that. And Saints offered me a contract to turn professional, which was wasn't the greatest contract. But Warrington had sold a dream of being the first choice 7 and building a team around me. And I'm probably looking back on it now. If that phone call would have come probably a week or two later, I probably would have turned it down. Right. But they got me at the right time. Yeah. And I was still probably a bit upset. And, I'm a big believer in fate, and they got me at the right time. And it was an unbelievable move for myself.
Yeah, well, that's it, mate. And before you knew it, it was history in the making. What a move! You signed on at Warrington. You made an immediate impact with the wire. You added that much needed attacking edge. That first year at Warrington, with Wilderspool as your home ground, always known as the Zoo. What was the reception like from these Warrington fans? Once being a Saints lad, and now you've moved over to Warrington. Obviously, there's a bit of a rivalry there, and the ground is infamous. How did you settle in that year? What was that like? The reception from the fans and the whole culture at the club. How did it treat you?
Oh, from first day I got there to the last day when I left 25 years later, it was always unbelievable. They treated me like a Warringtonian, and I suppose I am. Yeah. In some cases, I spent most of my life in Warrington, probably more than I've spent in St Helens.
Yeah.
With working there every day. So yeah, unbelievable. Every one of them took me in, and the passion what they showed and the support through thick and thin.
Yeah,
they showed me. They took my family. So I can't ever question the Warringtonian support of myself. And yeah, it's special times when I look back and think of those times at Wilderspool.
Yeah.
Small ground, fans on top of you. I hated playing there when I was for Saints Academy and Saints A team. So I can only imagine what other teams used to feel like when they come and played there.
Yeah, well, that's it, mate. I'm glad you're welcome well by Warrington, and like you said, you're pretty much a Warringtonian. You have spent most of your life there. So that first year at Warrington was a successful one, like I mentioned previously, and you were nominated for the Young Player of the Year award. As this was your first year playing regular first team rugby, surely your confidence must have been through the roof with such a great first year at the club and being nominated for such a brilliant award. Like, your confidence must have gone right up from, not being included in the Saints squad to now having a brilliant year playing first team footy. What was that all like, after that first year?
Yeah, it was great. It's what everybody's, boyhood dreams are made of. Being a professional rugby league, being a professional sportsman, whatever that may be, being a successful businessman, whatever you want to be, and you suddenly achieve it. That's special. To be awarded the Young Player of the Year in my first year is something I'll really look back and I'm proud of. Again, it was just, when you're 18, you don't feel pressure. You just want to play. You play for the love of the game. It's not about money. It's about just going out and enjoying it. And it's a shame you can't keep that all the way through.
Yeah.
That enjoyment and that no pressure kind of thing, and just turning up. I suppose you go into work and messing about on a field with 25, 30 best mates every day. Don't get much better. It don't get much better than that.
No, definitely not, mate. Honestly, it's a dream that everyone who's involved in the sport, or everyone who's got a dream, that is something they aspire to. If you're a fan of any sports in the world, that is everyone's dream, to be able to go professional. And, like you said, it is just kicking a ball around on a field with 30, 20 of your mates. So as an 18-year-old, you play in Super League football, always in the first team, and then being nominated for that Young Player of the Year award is truly something special. Since that debut year, you've gone on to become a proper Warrington legend. There's so much to talk about, from your first steps at the club to Tony Smith's phenomenal transformation of Warrington into a heavy-hitting Super League team. Being coached by these world-class coaches, as well as, you're on that road yourself to becoming a head coach one day, I presume. What have you learned from these coaches, and what did you implement into your game? And have you taken that stuff from Tony Smith or Cullen and all of them? Have you taken that on with you where now you're assistant coach at Wigan?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question, and we were really lucky that we've had some really good coaches at Warrington. Paul Cullen was fantastic. He was the right person for the club at that period of time.
Yeah.
Stabilised the club. I'm forever grateful for Paul making me captain of the club, and I cherish that honour. And then obviously Tony Smith took over, and he come at a time where the club was on the up, and it was recruiting some really good players. I suppose what Tony learnt me was I didn't have to do everything all of the time. Mm-hmm. Pick my times to come in and out of the games, and let people around me, like Michael Monaghan, the likes of Michael Monaghan, Brett Hodgson, Vinnie Anderson, Louis Anderson, Matt King, Adrian Morley, Gareth Carvel. They're all unbelievable players in their own right. Mickey Iam, John Clark. Yeah. So I didn't have to do everything all the time, which I probably tried to do previously. Mm-hmm. And that probably helped me out my game. I could come in and out, and when I come into the game, and I tended to make something happen. So I really enjoyed that, and I was really lucky that I played with some fabulous players in that time. And on top of that, Tony Smith was a great man manager. You know, he used to kind of let us senior guys come up with game plans and make sure that, you know, own it, if you like, accountability. And then sometimes he'd say no, he'd do it. So I do in my coaching philosophy now, and you know, the stuff I do want to implement is there's a lot of Tony Smith stuff in there.
Yeah,
I like the way, I like his philosophies on how the game should be played. I think we think the same way around that. So yeah, I'm a big believer in that. We need to entertain as a sport if we're going to move it forward and get new viewers. You know, I'm not too fussed about these in the grind completion rate. You know, I understand that has got to happen sometimes, but throw the ball about. You know, get the ball moving, get these athletes expressing themselves, and you know, it's them little things. You know, I take a lot of stuff what Tony was big on in these 1%ers of where the people are around the place. And I suppose he made me what's the quote? He made me probably a bit more aware of responsibility and how that comes across. And so he was a fabulous coach, and hopefully I can follow his footsteps one day.
Yeah, let's hope so, mate. And you've got everything around you at Wigan to succeed as a coach. And for me, the Tony Smith era is what I grew up watching. That's my first bit of rugby league that kind of got me hooked to the sport, which I'm extraordinarily lucky to be a part of. And obviously for many other Warrington fans, they've been through darker fans. And for me, to be able to witness Tony Smith at the wheel, it's brilliant. Being such a key player in those successful 2009 to about 2013 years, in that dominant Warrington period, you know, what was the driving force behind that team? What made Warrington a heavy hitter? What made them the team to beat in Super League?
Well, unfortunately, we couldn't get the grand final, but we just aspired to be better every day. There's one thing what Tony did, he challenged you every day. And we had a great group of guys. We enjoyed each other's company. Yeah. We were tight off the field and tight on the field. And it's basically that. We enjoyed each other's company. We enjoyed going to work every day and trying to get better.
Yeah, that's a brilliant attitude to have, honestly. I think what Tony Smith does so well as a coach, and I've spoken to Tony on a separate Warrington podcast, I just think the attitude he has towards the game, growing the game, making players better, improving players' attitudes, and you know, making sure they have that responsibility, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well, in just everyday life. I think that's one of the things that makes him stand out over many other coaches, and I think that is something that built that Warrington team. And of course, like you said, the grand final was just out of reach multiple times. But the fact that Warrington side was so dominant, you know, multiple Challenge Cups, so dominant in the league, reaching those grand finals, it is something that only a true, real rugby league coach can achieve out of a team. And of course, you had those top players like yourself, Morley, Westwood, or both the Monaghan brothers, all of them. But to make a team, and Tony Smith really bonded that team, I think. And it was brilliant to watch. And you being such a key part of that team, you know, it really gelled things together for you, I'd presume, you know, being a Saints lad and now you're a Warringtonian, like you said. All of that coming together, you know, does that really, you know, does that hold a place in your heart? Are you at heart a Warringtonian when it comes to your playing days?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's no second guesses that. Yeah, I spent my life there. I'll always hold a special place for Warrington, for sure. I look back fondly on their memories. Unfortunately, we couldn't get that grand final, but you know, life's a journey, and if that wasn't for us to win, well, you know, it might be for a different team down the line. You never know. I might go back and coach and win it one day, be the first one. You never know. Not putting pressure on the squad what's there now, because that'd be unfair. But you know, that could well be the dream. Who knows? Who knew? Who would have thought that I'd be at Wigan this year. So you never know what's around the corner. You've got to take, I suppose you've got to take every year and enjoy it, because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's it, mate. So as a player, you've won almost everything. You've performed at every peak in rugby league. The grand final is one that's, as a Warrington player, it's almost it's almost like it's grown feet and just moved out the way for Warrington teams across the years. But apart from that grand final, you've done everything else. You are a complete player. But is there any particular achievement that maybe stands above the rest?
Well, it wasn't until I retired that, it's because when you're in the bubble and you're playing, it's team only.
Yeah,
There's no thought about individual honours, because without your teammates, you just can't win individual honours. But now that I look back and time to reflect, the Lance Todd Trophy is just in my eyes, it's probably the best man of the match award you can win. Because I've grew up with the Challenge Cup. It's the most synonymous with rugby league, the Lance Todd. And so, to win that it's just a special thing. You look at the players who've won it, and then to think that this scrawny, kind of scruffy kid from a council estate in St Helens is also one of the winners. It fills me with immense pride. So it'd be that one.
Oh, definitely, mate. What a trophy to win. So international wise, you made your Wales debut in 1998, and you went on to make 20 or so appearances for your country. We know you could have represented both England and Wales. What was the reasoning behind representing the Welsh and pulling on that Welsh shirt when playing international rugby?
I just like the challenge of representing a smaller country, I suppose. First and foremost, it was to represent my grandparents' heritage. So it was early on in my career, and I was really proud to represent when I did. It was 19, and I would never ever change after that.
Yeah.
Whether I had the opportunity or not is a different matter. But I would never ever change from one country to another. And as soon as I probably pinned, my name to the mast, that was the only ever going to be the country I played for, and I loved every single minute of it. There was no better feeling than, getting 3 feathers on the chest. It was something else, and because we were always the underdog, always, and we always, I say, probably 90%, 95% overachieved.
Yeah.
And it's just a fabulous time of my playing career.
Yeah, no doubt, mate. It must have been a brilliant time, representing the Welsh and, honouring your grandparents and that Welsh heritage. So with a World Cup just around the corner, and you yourself have played for the Welsh national side in a World Cup, how important is this tournament for the exposure of our game, and how do we ensure as many fans and new consumers of the game turn up to this World Cup? Let's get seats down in the stadium. How important is the World Cup?
It's massive for our game. It's everything. And listen, we're not going to be as big as Rugby Union. We shouldn't ever try and chase that at the moment. But we just need to make this Rugby League World Cup the best one what's ever been.
Yeah.
And I reckon the marketing needs to be right. We need to absolutely smash marketing and make sure that we can get new audiences, because we're seeing the best players in the world in our own country. And if you can't get excited about that, we're struggling. But we need a massive marketing drive. Yeah, it needs to be smashed like from last week. We need to be on it. Yeah, and so hopefully we get that right, and then then the people who sit at home moaning about rugby league not doing so well, come and watch the game. And there's thousands on thousands of people who will be watching. But we need more, and we need a lot of support. And let's hope the coaches and the players put on a spectacle, which I'm sure they will.
Yeah, it should be a brilliant tournament, and whether it grows the game as much as we hope, It's no doubt, like you said, it's all the best players in rugby league coming to our country and putting on a show. So let's hope everyone gets a few tickets and gets to as many games as possible. And this is definitely important for our game, like you said. So for me in your career and Warrington as a whole, I think 2010 was the start of something special. Warrington made the Challenge Cup final, something special for fans and everyone involved with the club. What was it like during the run up to that final? It must have been surreal for you and the lads.
In 2009 or 10, you on about?
9, sorry, yeah.
2-9.
Yeah,
2-9, yeah. It was just crackers. It was just unbelievable. And I've been in 5 Challenge Cup semi-finals for Warrington, lost them all over a 13-year period. So you're thinking, is your time up? You're not going to make one. But then obviously we played Wigan in the semi-final at Widnes and just absolutely blew them out the water. They come back at the end, but it was probably game over, just too much for them. And we had a great game plan. We executed it to a T. And then obviously to get to the Challenge Cup final was just surreal. It was unbelievable. The feeling to kind of finally get the monkey off the back to make a final was just the best feeling ever. It was probably the best feeling I've had in rugby league.
This episode is sponsored and partnered with Wirepins. At Wirepins, we'll leave a link to all their socials and their website in the description. We've teamed up with Wirepins to get Lee Briers on the podcast today. What a brilliant episode. And we'll be doing a giveaway with them in the near future. So make sure to jump over to our socials and their Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that in the description to keep in tune for that. They've got a Legends collection of brilliant Warrington pins. They feature Lee Briers, Adrian Morley, Super Benny Westwood and more coming along. So if you're interested in that, we'll leave a purchase link in the description. We just want to thank them for sponsoring today's episode, and of course thank Lee for jumping on as part of a promotional episode. Brilliant episode, and we're looking forward to working with Wirepins in the near future. Cheers guys. Right, here we go. So we're back. So following that 2009 Challenge Cup run, people didn't expect Warrington to make it that far. Even some of the fans, doubted that Warrington would do that good. And, that 2009 was the start of something special, like I said. What was it like for you as a player being a part of something new? And it's almost like a new era. You're building up, and now you're here at the very peak of rugby league. What was that like being a part of that?
Yeah, it was special times. You could feel that something was happening, and we weren't doing great in the league, but we'd found some form in the cup, and then getting to Wembley, Tony Smith's game plan was just sensational to a point where we knew exactly what, if we were going to kick off, we knew what Huddersfield were going to do. They were going to wrap 3 plays all the way to the left-hand side and then come back with a 2-pass kick. And if you see the first set, we charged the kick down. Louis Anderson got the ball, and the next 2 players, Richie Mathers scored. Mm-hmm. And, from that point onwards, we knew that we were never going to lose that game. Just the preparation was leading up to the final. We didn't drop one ball in the full week. It was that sharp, and Tony Smith kept us nice and cool, calm. We understood our roles. And we went and executed it. It was just surreal. And a little story was, I used to get really nervous for games, whether it be against a Swinton or a Keighley or even a Wigan. I was violently sick at halftime. Before the game, violently sick at halftime, just because of nerves. And before the semi-final against Wigan, I was sick every single morning, probably only slept 4 hours a night.
Right.
I probably didn't have much energy playing the game. I'd been that sick with nerves. So obviously winning the game, I was like, oh no, I don't want to go through that leading up to Wembley again. But, it's something what's always been that happened to me, and nervous. But leading up to the final that week, I didn't feel one bit of nerves. I was a bit worried, to be fair. Like, why have I not been sick? Why have I not? Why am I not worrying about the game? And I can usually tell by the second when I'm going to be sick. It's usually about 12:15 1 if it's a 3 o'clock kickoff, 2:15 if it's a 3 o'clock kickoff, and was at Wembley. I'm in the changing rooms and I'm waiting for this to happen, and there was no nerves, and not throwing up.
Right.
And I'm thinking, what's going on? And I didn't realise this until I'd finished playing, and then I'd, processed my career and gone through different stages of my career. And ever since I've been a kid, from being 4 years of age, every piece of grass in St Helens we used to play on, every goalpost I used to kick over, every lamppost I tried to kick a drop goal in my mum's street, it was always at Wembley. Every time. Lee Briers scored at Wembley to win a trophy. Lee Briers to win the man of the match at Wembley. And I'd done it, have you ever heard of the 10,000 rule, 10,000 hours? And I'd done it that many times. By the time I got to Wembley,
right,
I'd been there, done it, I'd visualised it. So I wasn't nervous. Played there on 4 occasions and not once nervous. I was just there in the moment. Yeah. And that's why I reckon I've already visualised it. So that was strange, and that was, I suppose proves the point that it does work. Yeah. First one, 2009, I had my son Reese. He was mascot as well, so it was a great day for the family. Yeah. And then, I don't know, it was 80,000 and probably 75,000 of them were Warrington fans. Yeah. It was just unbelievable. It was just an unbelievable day.
Yeah, honestly, what an experience. You are a part of that special Warrington side. And like that story of you visualising it, and because you've done it so many times as a kid, kicking rugby balls about in the street, like you said, it's almost like your life has built up to this point, and now you're there and you're ready. You've done it so many times as a kid, so why can't you do it now? Why can't you do it here on the biggest stage of all? And you did it. So what a story to tell. Honestly, that is brilliant. As a Warrington fan, it may be a bit of bias, but I think Warrington deserved to win that day. They weren't doing the best in the league, like you said, but there was something special about that Challenge Cup run. That may just be because I'm a Warrington fan. But yeah, what a special run. And obviously in 2010, a repeat of that in the Challenge Cup. Honestly, unbelievable again. But for me, I'd like to talk about 2011 for your personal reasons. It's an outstanding year for yourself. Your 14th season in Super League, and during this season you broke a number of records. For example, the top all-time point scorer, overtaking club great Brian Bevan and Steve Hesford during that 112-0 victory over Swinton, which is also a phenomenal result. It also saw you break your own club record for points scored in a match. This year was one of your very best in terms of form, and obviously the team around you was just as brilliant as the years before. It's such a great group of players, and then you having one of the best years of your life. I think as a player, from what I've seen watching, players like you have that natural ability to have a bit of flair on the pitch, and just make those rash decisions, which in your brain as a rugby player, that's just something that goes through, which I don't know if that can be taught as a coach. Now, a lot of people have been saying with you at Wigan, you can help develop those young halves. Obviously, Wigan have got so much young talent there. As a player that's done it on the pitch and produced that flair and produced those unbelievable plays, do you think that is something that can be coached, or is it natural?
I think you've got to have a bit of both. Right. You've got to have a bit of natural ability, but you've also got to understand the game, so you learn the game. And so when people see me do stuff off the cuff, kind of kicking for the corners and I don't know, long passes and whatnot, chip overs, they were actually structured stuff. So I would watch hours on hours of tapes on different players, on different body positions, on if I'm in this picture, what's the picture I'm looking at, and spotting things. So I see things really slow in the game, so kind of train myself to see things happening slow, but other people might see it quick. I see everything quite slow, and I can see things happening after it. I don't know. It's a real weird feel. I suppose because I've watched and studied that many games of rugby league. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of, I see it happening as it unfolds quite slowly, so I can react to that. It's strange, really. I suppose it's like, without saying I'm a genius at seeing it. It's like, I just see it slow motion, and I can't really explain it like that. But so what I do and trying to do with the halfbacks now is to get the game to slow down for them, to see pictures. So if I can give them pictures on a video, and then put that kind of same picture onto a training field and practice it, then when it comes to real life games, if they see stuff, they'll understand that they've done it, they've seen it, they've practiced it, well, execute it. I suppose that's the thought process behind the teach part of it. And then it's kind of giving them the confidence as a coach to go and execute it, and then not worry if it doesn't go right. Because if they try to execute and it doesn't go right, and then I'm down the throat, well, they're not going to have confidence to execute. So there's kind of like 3 or 4 way of learning it. But at the end of the day, we as coaches have got to allow that to happen. And if I'm a big believer in, if you practice in training, go and do it on a game day. It's not going to come off all the time. That's life. People make mistakes, but go and do it again. Try it again. But so we trying to put pictures into the head, so they visualize it, they see it, and then hopefully we execute on the end of it.
Yeah, honestly, just listening to that, you can tell how much you know about the game, how much you've studied it over the years, how much you've played it. You've done that in games, you've done it on the biggest stages, and now you're trying to implement that into your work with the halves at Wigan. Honestly, it's just extraordinary to hear as someone who doesn't play the game nor coaches, and it's just an outright fan. So it's brilliant, and We'll have a look at 2012 now, because for me that was a special year for me as well, because I think it was one of the first years where I kind of got to grips with things. I started to slowly learn how a few things worked, rather than just go into the rugby for a bit of fun. I kind of got that feeling in my head where I knew what's going on here. A grand final defeat again against Leeds, and over the years Warrington and Leeds seem to have these clashes on the top stages. The heartbreak for you, the fans, and the club as a whole. This trophy, which is just it's avoided Warrington for so long, and it's been in reach, and it's just been snatched away by Leeds at the last hurdle. Give me and everyone listening a bit of an insight into that. The run up to it, and then the heartbreak. It must have been such a up and down moment in your career.
Yes, we were flying in the league. Won the Challenge Cup, beat Leeds in the Challenge Cup, so confident to go and to win the grand final. But probably just like that experience to go and win it. Leeds are well-renowned Super League champions a lot of times, and they knew about the cold October nights at Old Trafford. Kicking game was key. And Kevin Sinfield, was brilliant that night. And they thoroughly deserved the win. We just weren't good enough that night. But, it showed that the club were on the right path, and we're going in the right direction to hopefully, as we know now, we've not won it. They've not won it yet. So, but we knew that we were going in the right direction. Listen, it was very disappointed, but Leeds thoroughly deserved it that night. Leeds, I think, like you said, they've just got that experience that they are a Super League winning side. That's kind of there. Them and Wigan, I think they're the teams. If you're up against them in a grand final, right, this team's done it before. It's a tough game.
2013 as well, another top year. You kicked your 1,000th goal, as well as another grand final upset, although this time against Wigan, local rivals, and now your current club. I remember that game to this day. I was about 6 or 7 years old, with my Warrington flag and my face paint on, at at Trafford, ready to cheer on the lads. That game for me, one of the best games in history, just because of the event, and in my heart, one of obviously the biggest game I'll ever go to, being my first grand final. Such a close game between two heavy hitting sides. Warrington with an advantage, then Wigan seemed on top. The tables kept turning, and it was just an immense game. Wigan came out on top this evening. That evening, and though some controversy did occur, which I won't speak about, as you're at Wigan now, and I'm a Warrington fan, so we won't get into any of that. But another defeat in the grand final. Now, I spoke to Tony Smith on another podcast, like I said earlier, and he couldn't really explain the reasoning behind this. What would you call it? This avoidance of the grand final, and I don't expect you to give a clear and obvious explanation either. But is there anything in your mind which you look back on and think, maybe if we did this a bit better, we could have had it? Like, what do you think that was in the way and kind of blocking that trophy?
It's a strange one. I think to win a grand final, to win the championship, all the stars have got to align. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, they've not done it yet.
Yeah,
they have not aligned. We were brilliant that night. Where we wasn't good enough against Leeds, where they were too good for us. I thought we were really good against Wigan.
Yeah,
we got off to a flying start, and then Wigan being Wigan, they're really gritty and determined, and got us into a street fight. Really.
Yeah.
Basically, we got a couple of unfortunate injuries. John Monaghan got knocked out.
Yeah.
Steph got a bad ankle. So we just run out of troops in the wrong places, and Joe Monaghan got knocked out, and Wigan scored the next play just before half time, and it kind of gave Wigan that ascendancy. Mm-hmm. And then Wigan being Wigan, they smelt blood and took it from there, and we couldn't get it back. So we on that given day, I just thought that the stars didn't align. We had injuries to important people at the wrong time, and we just couldn't get it back. But again, you've got to give credit to Wigan, because they got us into that street fight, and they dominated second half.
Yeah, what a game from both sides, and like you said, respect to Wigan. They kind of played out and turned it into a street fight, like you said, and that's what Wigan are renowned to do. Some people hate it, some people love it, but you have to respect that style of rugby, because as we've seen over the years, it wins titles. You announced your retirement in 2013, and you released your autobiography shortly before that. I've read the book, and what a top read. I'll leave the link below in the description for anyone who wants to buy it. Why did you decide to write an autobiography? It's kind of like saying, here's my career, let's put it in a book, everyone read about it. What was it that kind of clicked in your head to think, people need to hear about this? What was that like?
Well, it certainly wasn't for the money.
Right.
So it's just, again, it's something, who would have thought that I would have been in a position to write a book. I didn't do school. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of fitting that I could write a book, to be fair.
Yeah.
I just thought it's a real good thing for my kids to read, for grandkids to read, and to give my story from where I grew up, what I had to do to be a professional and successful rugby league player. It's not all rugby. So it's just an enjoyable thing, really, to get people to understand who Lee Briers is.
Yeah, and what a read it was, mate. I got it a few years ago now, and I actually got it signed by you through one of my family members, so I appreciate that very much. It's a brilliant read to learn about where you come from in Saints, and that journey you've taken. It's so unexpected. So everyday people who grew up like you wouldn't expect to get to the heights that you've done, and obviously you've done it all. So what a brilliant read. And now, after all that, you've retired from playing. You're now the assistant coach at Wigan Warriors. Who would have thought? 20 plus years at Warrington. How is the club's mentality coming into the year? Like you said, you're trying to bring that philosophy and that attitude into Wigan and create not new, because it's the same old Wigan. We love Wigan as neutrals and what they can achieve, but you've also got to bring in some new spice and some new talent. How is all that coming together with you as assistant? You've got some new fresh faces in, but then the old faces like Sean Wayne having input at the club now and Sean O'Loughlin working beside yourself. How is all of that moulding together for the start of the year?
It's really good. We've got a really good dynamic of coaching staff. Obviously, Matt Pete's the head coach and he's running it all, and me and Sean O'Loughlin assistant coaches.
Mm-hmm.
With Sean Wayne as kind of a mentoring consultant, so it's a really good dynamic. We've got a really good performance staff. We're all kind of the same age. Well, I said the same age. They're all the same age. I'm a bit older.
Right.
That feels a bit weird. But it's a really good group. We work really hard, but we enjoy working hard and we enjoy having a laugh.
Yeah.
And I think that's rubbing off on the players, that we work hard but we have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as the players coming in each day and wanting to get better and enjoy working and have fun along the way, well, we're happy with that. So we're working hard.
Yeah,
we've got culture first, and we're enjoying what we're doing.
Yeah, and that's it, mate. If you're enjoying rugby, then hopefully, obviously, the season's not kicked off yet, but that reflects on the pitch. And obviously, a brilliant pre-season game against Warrington, which I took notice of. Steph Ratchford's testimonial, brilliant showing for a pre-season game by both teams. So we've asked around for some questions from the fans. Obviously, this is one of our biggest episodes yet, and obviously, we thought, well, who not better to get involved than the fans themselves. So first off, the fans want to know, who is some of your main influences in your career, both players and coaches?
Our players, Bobby Golding early on was fantastic for me.
Mm-hmm.
Darryl van der Velde as well.
Yeah.
And first coach. And Paul Cullen, I can't go with Paul Cullen, but obviously the main one is Tony Smith.
Yeah.
For numerous reasons, what we've already mentioned. Fantastic. Playing wise, Adrian Morley.
Yeah.
Friend. Very good friend. Respect so much on the field. He was unbelievable. Benny Westwood, my best mate in rugby league.
Yeah.
Looked after me with my defence. I looked after him with his tries. So we've got a real good, strong group of friends. We've got a WhatsApp group there from back in the day. So I can't really pinpoint one person. Probably, if I was going to pinpoint one person, probably my old school teacher, Mr. Calland, who I didn't really go to school, but he understood that I didn't like school and just allowed me to play rugby, but got me on the right path. Probably Mr. Calland.
Brilliant. Big shout out to your teacher then, if he's listening. Another question from the fans is, how did you find your transition from player to coach, and what have you taken into coaching from your playing days?
I love the transition. It wasn't as hard as other people, probably because I just went from playing straight into coaching, but I'd had enough of playing. Obviously, I was upset that I had to retire like that, but when I got my head around it, it was fine, because I was content with what had gone by. And if I was one of those players who thought he could still do it, then I couldn't really focus on my first job, which was the academy coach. And I wanted to give them academy lads, all my knowledge and, all my kind of experience so I could help them. Yeah.
So that's everything to say, mate. A top episode. Being able to speak to one of my idols, it is a dream come true. So I owe you a huge thanks for taking the time out of your day and jumping on the podcast today. As much as it hurts coming from a Warrington fan, I do wish you success with Wigan, and I'm looking forward to what this year has in store. Alongside the World Cup later on this year. Once again, I must thank you. Thanks for taking your time out of your day. It's been a brilliant episode, and thanks for jumping on, mate. Cheers.
All good. Good luck with it.
Cheers, mate. Thanks. Cheers.
Cheers, pal. Bye.
Live and let die.